Alrighty. Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report, episode 409, Formula 409. Hey, if you know me, you know I like to play around with numbers all the time. It's part of being a history person, but I equate numbers with stuff. And there we go, Formula 409. I got it underneath my kitchen cabinet. All right. So welcome to the JP8 report. Thank y'all very much for tuning in. Hopefully y'all got to watch the morning brief this morning and y'all are back for more. That would be great. I have a heart out at 9 this morning, 9 Central this morning. So I got breakfast with a group of friends that do this every Friday. So, and hopefully he jumps on here in just a minute. It's Covite for life. Good friend of mine. Welcome to the JP8 report. As we get started, well, before I get to that part, breaking news. It just got released 30 minutes ago. The U.S. economy adds 172,000 jobs in May, beating expectations. Take that, you stupid Democrats. We added 172,000 jobs to the economy. Yes. So the U.S. economy added jobs at a modest pace in May amid uncertainty surrounding the impact of the conflict in the Middle East. Now, we destroyed all expectations because they were expecting 85,000 jobs and we added 172,000 jobs, right? So yeah, the BLS on Friday reported employers added 172,000 jobs in May. The figure is above the estimates the economists polled LSEG, who predicted a gain of only 85,000. The unemployment rate stayed steady at 4.3%, which was in line with what they expected. That was oh my goodness, that was really, really good. Let's see. So, and then revisions for the last 2 months. So the March was revised up by 29,000 additional jobs, and it went from 185,000 to 214,000, and then April's jobs. See, they don't tell the good news. This is even more good news. April's jobs were revised up by 64,000 from 115,000 job gain to 179,000. So if you add 172 plus about 30,000 more, that puts us over 200,000. And then about almost 270,000 jobs added to the economy between March and the end of May, including the ones that were already reported. Unbelievable. This is great news. Expect the stock market to skyrocket. All right. Wow. I'm excited. And I don't have no employees. Not no more. Man. All right. So as we get started, if you don't follow the JPA report page, please do so. So to find it, you'll see a little bell. When you see the little bell, you click on it, go to the bottom and click follow. That's how you follow the page. And then right next to it is a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up for the day's broadcast. And you can chat in the chat room if you want. It's free. I appreciate it. Let's get this algorithm flowing. And because I was telling people, click that follow button. But if you look on here, there's no follow button. There used to be a long time ago. But now you have like a bell. You have to click the bell and go down the list, and you'll see follow or unfollow. Click on the follow button, and then go click on the thumbs up button. Smash it. All right. So let's go. America 250. The only thing that could find a report, because stuff was gearing toward the American Revolution, is the Second Continental Congress on tomorrow, on June 6, 1776. The Second Continental Congress established the secret committee of 5 for spies, on how to deal with spies when they come across them. Okay, so that was the big thing that happened today and tomorrow on the for America 250. We are getting close. Monday morning when I do this, it'll be about the resolution from Richard Lee proposing the recommendation for the Declaration of Independence. Okay. All right. Next. The armament shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the Armament Shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? That would be your concealed handgun license. Jason can provide those classes both online and in person. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the Armament Shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit them at www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So the Iran update. The Iran update is as follows. Hezbollah. I know. I have to go on a bad part. Hezbollah rejects the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. They fired rockets and drones into northern Israel. And then it was quoted, I think, by Marco Rubio, Sec State. Hezbollah is destroying the hope for peace in that region. That's all they're doing, right? 127 vessels have been turned back, and then 6 vessels have been disabled. Oil prices continue to drop, and we'll get to that in just a second. They are dropping. The United Kingdom and France are finalizing their plans to conduct mountain clearing operations in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran and Russia, they're strengthening their alliance between the two countries. President Trump yesterday said the red line for the United States between us and Iran would be U.S. Military servicemen being killed in action. All right. And then Iran's lawmakers want the supreme leader to approve the building of missiles that can reach the United States. They'll get destroyed too, but hey. Brent crude oil is right now trading at $94.97 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate is at $92.95 a barrel. And the Dow Jones yesterday closed up 874.86 to 51,561.93. Okay, that is the Iran update for June 5th. Give me a second here. I want to see something. Hold it. I'm going to see if they give me a futures. Nope, they're not giving me a futures. I was going to see what the stock market was doing before it opens, because it opens in 20 minutes. But now we got to wait for it to really open. That's all right. That's how it goes, right? First your money, then your clothes. All right. So California. California is the place not to be. So you load up your family and you move to Texas if you're Republican. You move to Colorado if you're a Democrat. Okay? We'll put it like that. Or New Mexico. All right. So I know I'm just joking. Just give me a break, okay? It's just, man, California is not the place to be. All right, so we're in election day +3. All right. I didn't know. I thought election day was singular as an election day, but in California, election day as long as you want election day to be. They did say there's supposed to be a ballot drop today. Um, so they said that would happen in LA County, right? But still, 3 days. Election day was Tuesday. Now we're on Friday, and the percentage of vote that was in was like 1 or 1.5% more than on election night. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So for California governor, reported right now is at 59.6%. Steve Hilton is still at 27.2%. Javier Becerra is at 26%. Tom Steyer is at 20.2%. For LA Mayor, Karen Bass, she's at 35.1%. Spencer Pratt is still holding steady at 29.4%. And Rahman, she's at 23.4%. And the amount reported in is at 64.3%. All right. So, and we got a little bit about California in just a couple minutes. All right, so that's California. We expect results to come in today. I don't know if it's going to be today or tonight when the sun goes down. They said something's supposed to drop. Okay, I don't know what they're hiding from, but they should have counted these by Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. Sorry about that. All righty. So before I go any further, this happened on June 6, 1986. That young man is me. All right. I was 17 years old, joined Army. That was my basic training photo because I left for basic training 40 years ago at Fort Dix, New Jersey. All right. Yeah. So that young mug right there is me. And 40 years later, this is me. And I look ugly. Yeah, I know. All right. Don't even try to justify me looking good because I don't. I'm old and decrepit. All right. But yeah, that was me 40 years ago. All right. So, I'm missing something. Hold on just a second here. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. So, this morning at we were talking about this morning 4 a.m. When 4 a.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. The U.S. Senate decided they had enough. They voted and they went to bed. So they left us with a $70 billion ICE and Border Patrol funding bill that takes funding all the way through January 2029. So the next president will have the responsibility for the budget for ICE. All right. It's taken care of. It's protected. All right. Well, so far, it's got to go to the House of Representatives. In this article that I went over this morning, it shows nothing in there about if the House is going to try to do unanimous consent to get it to the president or wait till Monday because the House is not in session, that they're going to wait till Monday to do a roll call vote or something like that and then get it over to the president. I've been thinking these people have been without a paycheck for months. Let's get it done. All right. So, Senate Republicans managed to stitch together a united front to advance President Donald Trump's roughly $70 billion immigration enforcement package, passage of the budget reconciliation package, geared toward funding immigration customs enforcement and border patrol for the next 3.5 years, closes a long, drawn-out chapter in the Senate and began during the longest shutdown in American history. It's a point that the Senate Republicans tried to return to throughout the day, reiterating that the Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer and Democrats had forced their hands after refusing to fund immigration operations and a plethora of reforms. Democrats would not agree to anything, and eventually they walked away together, presumably because they thought that it would serve them better to have the issue for November. That's from Senate Majority Leader John Thune. But the day and preceding weeks were dominated by a growing rift between Senate Republicans and the Trump administration that threatened to blow the process up altogether. First, it was the inclusion of $1 billion for security upgrades to the Trump ballroom, which was later stripped out. That's not dead either, okay? Then I guess people would love to put the president's life at risk, and they're not knowing. So, how do I say this? The security upgrades aren't for the ballroom. They're for other places around the ballroom, but not in the ballroom, that needed to be done. You have talking about equipment that's decades old. They're trying to fix it all, okay? We'll stop there. All right, I don't want to go too deep into that. And then there was a DOJ announcement that the $2 billion anti-weaponization fund was being launched to allow people who felt targeted by the government to make a claim from the pot of taxpayer money. Several Senate Republicans worried that the money would be assessed by January 6 rioters who were convicted of assaulting the police. I'm sorry, but the vast majority of those people were hung out to dry by the new administration that wanted to make a point, and a lot of them were railroaded. And these people spent thousands and thousands of dollars defending themselves. Some were incarcerated without any type of bond, and they lost everything for a $50 fine or a $100 fine, but they stuck it to them, right? They just want they just want to get their bills paid and stuff. That's what this stuff is for, not to make people engrossly rich like senators that were surveilled under Arctic frost. They have the right of $500,000 reimbursements if they were illegally surveilled by the Department of Justice and the FBI. I mean, what gives, right? Well, it's a power thing because the senators there, both Republican and Democrat, don't care about anything else but their power and how they can get rich faster, okay? I know I'm on a tangent this morning. I really don't care, right? And I am well rested. I had a good night's rest last night. I'm tired of people taking advantage of people like that. Many of the amendments pushed by Democrats placed Republicans in tough bids for re-election. Collins and Husted and Dan Sullivan into politically challenging positions. The Republicans try to kill it too. Tensions on the Senate floor were on the rise on the floor. This is about the weaponization thing. And then it said, still, the process came to a grinding halt because of the fun at the start of the marathon vote series with Bill Cassidy and others wanted to ensure that GOP attempts to fund the vote too. You know what? That failed, right? Because they needed a 60 vote threshold. I just wanted to optimize the chances of success, Bill Cassidy said. Ultimately, despite a dozen Republicans voting for Tom Tillis's amendment, all attempts toward future bids were to revive the fund failed. All right. So The ballroom came back into the picture when 6 Republicans joined Senate Democrats to prevent construction. That failed too. There was an attempt by Lindsey Graham to attach the Save America Act. That failed also. Now, the package now leads to the House, where Republicans are expected to pass it by the end of the week. That's not saying, is it going by unanimous consent, or are they going to wait for the House to come back into session on Monday and vote for it? We shall see. All right, next. Your buddy, John Bolton, because he sure ain't no friend of mine. He is pleading guilty for possession retaining classified information. So, yeah, $2.25 million fine. So, former White House National Security Advisor John Bolton will plead guilty to retaining classified information, two sources to Fox News on Thursday. The authorities raided Bolton's home and office in August last year when he was officially indicted in October. That indictment charged Bolton with both transmission and retention of classified information. He is expected to accept a plea deal with federal authorities to plead guilty to a single count of retention of classified information. Under the deal, he would be fined $2.25 million and could avoid serving any time in prison. He faces a maximum of 5 years. And ultimately, the sentence will be imposed by the judge, and that will be June 26. All right. So the indictment said from on or about April 9th, 2018 through at least on or about August 22nd, 2025, Bolton abused his position as National Security Advisor by sharing more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as NSA, maybe National Security Advisor, including information relating to the national defense, which was classified up to the top secret SCI level with 2 unauthorized individuals. Bolton was unlawfully retained documents, writings, and notes relating to national defense, including information classified up to the top secret SCI level at his home in Montgomery County, Maryland. The documents, according to the indictment, reveal intelligence and future attacks by an adversarial group in another country. A liaison partner shared sensitive information with the U.S. intelligence community, intelligence that a foreign adversary was planning a missile launch in the future, and a litany of other top secret information. The FBI's investigation revealed that John Bolton allegedly transmitted top secret information and used personal online accounts and retained said documents in the House in a direct violation of federal law. That came from Kash Patel. If you didn't know, he's the director of the FBI. The case was based on meticulous work from dedicated career professionals at the FBI and followed the facts without fear or favor, he added. Bolton served as the White House NSA during his first administration from 2018 to 2019. Now, that brings to mind what's going to happen to Hillary Clinton, because she sure did use her personal email for classified information. James Comey, he did it with his personal notes and information. So Joe Biden did it. Mike Pence did it. I mean, where does it end? If you are possessing classified information, especially at the TSSCI level, and it's discovered at your house, and you don't have a classified relief privileges, like the president can declassify verbally, you have no business retaining. Matter of fact, you have no business retaining any classified information. It has to go back to the SCIF where it came out of. I remember, I think it's about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Sandy Berger, he used to be the NSA for Bill Clinton. He was in National Archives looking at documents, and he stuffed classified documents in his socks underneath his jeans or slacks and tried to walk out of the National Archives with classified information along his legs underneath his socks. And got caught. All right. You don't want to know the stories I know about Sandy Berger, because when I was with Waka, oh man, people would talk about stuff, and he's gross. All right. So John Bolton is going to pay a $2.25 million fine. He may not have to go to prison. 77 years old. James Comey, I'm sorry, he's a different story. He may have it a lot worse. We'll see. All right, California. All right, hold on. Before I get into California, the Supreme Court released 3 opinions yesterday. None of them impacted people except for financial stuff and a cell phone company, saying that if you are fined by the FCC, you do not have the right to a jury trial. Something like you have to deny the fine first, and then you can request a jury trial. I think that's how it is. But that's for cell phone carrier like T-Mobile or AT&T. I think this dealt with AT&T anyway. So AT&T had sued the FCC, and this is what came about. All right. That being said, the next set of opinions to be released from the Supreme Court are going to be in June 11th, which is next Thursday, right? And they're waiting for a couple election-related things coming out of the Supreme Court, which deals with partially a little bit about California. And there are multiple election day criteria for trying to discover who's going to be the mayor of Los Angeles or the governor of California, or maybe dog catcher, Carmel by the Sea, I don't know. But those 2 races, I cannot believe we're 3 days past the election day, and we still don't know who the second place winner. Oh, we don't know guaranteed who the first place winner is, right? Because it can completely flip. Man, if those positions flip, it's all over with, right? All right. A looming U.S. Supreme Court ruling could end the seemingly endless election day of California and other blue and red states. At the close of business on Wednesday, California election officials had counted a little over half the votes cast in Tuesday's primary election for governor, and it could take days, if not weeks, until the election results are final. Those half of the votes were early votes, okay, votes that were mailed in and sent in ballot boxes early, before the end of the day, okay. So they got that part done, but they're tabulating everything else. After a full days after the polls closed, the election was too early to call, according to NBC News. Steve Hilton, a former Fox News host endorsed by President Trump, led Xavier Becerra, the Biden administration's bumbling Health and Human Services Secretary, by 2 percentage points, 27.6 to 25.6. And like I said earlier, he's at 26%. So, wow. Billionaire climate change cult leader Tom Steyer was in 3rd place at 19.6. Okay. They're talking about the jobs report. The top 2 vote getters on November's get to move on to November's general election. California law says no matter what the spread of the vote in the governor's race, it automatically goes to November. It's not like 50% plus 1. It's actually you're going to have a contest in November no matter what. Now, in the mayor's race, if someone got 50% plus 1, race is over. All right. Let's see. What we know, when will we know the final tally? Who knows? As the Federalist Hayden Daniel quipped, Colombia, mountainous country infested with drug lords and guerrillas, is counting its votes more efficiently than the state of California. California is Exhibit A in the argument to make election day again. Thanks to Golden State's muddled universal mail-in voting and generous grace period, 7 days, that'd be June 9th, for ballots postmarked on election day to be counted. The electoral waiting game has become a frustrating way of life, not just for California voters, but for the entire representative democracy. In 2024, California's extended election day forced the country to wait more than a month to learn the majority-minority balance in the U.S. House of Representatives. The slow count didn't instill a lot of faith in California election integrity then, and confidence levels certainly won't improve with the latest debacle. And then it says a looming U.S. Supreme Court ruling could end the seemingly endless election day of California and other blue and red states. So a matter of common sense. Watson versus Republican National Committee will decide whether federal election statutes preempt the California quagmire, laws allowing ballots to be counted long after Election Day. That decision is expected any day. Could be June 11th, right? The issue is that in that case, what does the statute and what does the law literally mean when it says Election Day? That ballots can be received by Election Day. J. Christian Adams, President and General Counsel of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, told me Wednesday in an interview on the Vicki McKenna Show. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court is issuing opinions. Okay, that didn't happen because they didn't get that. One day, the highest profile case is left, Watson versus RNC, which asks whether states can count ballots that arrive after Election Day. Funniest time to issue that would be a ruling in the post 10-day election counting days. The law seems pretty straightforward. Election Day is the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Good point. Let's see. A finish line. The Public Interest Legal Foundation challenged North Dakota's 13-day extended ballot counting period. Last year, the state enacted legislation requiring all mail-in ballots to arrive close to the polls on Election Day. Well, by close on Election Day. Ballots received later will no longer be counted, and PILFs, at the Public Interest Legal Foundation, like in Watson versus RNC, is that federal law stipulates election days be held on a single day. The law here is pretty clear. It's Election Day. It doesn't say days after. It creates a finish line on the first Tuesday in November. Okay? Then it said the Mississippi case doesn't touch the starting because that's called early voting period. You don't have early voting period, Election Day, and post-voting period. It doesn't work like that. That would be called late voting. The other one is early voting, right? When you're late, you're late. Back in the Army, if you're late, you got written up, you did push-ups. Come on, get it right. All right, next. It does feel like politicking. While Watson ruling is expected any day, Yates worries that liberals on the High Court will drag their feet in releasing it. Those concerns are understandable. That's right. As the Federalist editor-in-chief, the Molly Hemingway, she has a new book out. It's called Alito, and in it she covered that the High Court's 3 liberal justices long delayed the release of Dobbs versus Jackson in reversing Roe versus Wade. They refused to deliver the long overdue dissent for months, stonewalling even after the ideology allies at Politico leaked the draft at the majority. It almost cost the lives of 2 SCOTUS members. The liberal justices appear stonewalled another key election ruling, Louisiana versus Calais, which effectively put an end to the Democrats' naked race-based gerrymandering. Doing so, they hoped would politically benefit Democrats in November's midterm elections. They were wrong. All right, next. And that's it. Okay. So the Supreme Court needs a rule on the way mail-in ballots can be counted. All right? They need to. And they need the rules that election day is election day. If the ballots don't arrive in the early voting period or on election day, they are not to be counted. They're spoiled ballots because they're late. Okay? Next, more stuff on voting, right? Let me get a drink here. Hold on. If you're watching this, if you're not already a follower of the JP8 report, go to that little bell, click on the list arrow, go down, click follow, and then next to that is a thumbs up button. Please click that, okay? And I would greatly appreciate it. So, in a significant legal development just months before the midterms, federal judge Carl Nichols declined to halt the president's executive order number 14399 that establishes a nationwide network of voter eligibility verification and new restriction on the distribution of mail-in ballots. May 28th ruling gives the administration a temporary legal victory in an effort to strengthen the election security while leaving the door open for future challenges as the policy moves closer to implementation. I can guarantee you $1 to a dog biscuit that this will be appealed to an appellate court. Guarantee you. I can, man, my last bottom dollar. Okay. The EO was signed on March 31st. And it tells the Department of Homeless, the DHS, in coordination with Social Security, to develop state citizenship lists identifying verified U.S. citizens of voting age in each state. According to the order, the list would be compiled using federal records, including citizenship and naturalization databases, SSA, it'd be Social Security Administration, information, and data from the Systemic Alien Verification and Entitlements Program before being shared with state election officials. The order also instructs the post office to draft regulations that would restrict the delivery of absentee and mail-in ballots to individuals appearing on approved voter eligibility lists. Administration officials say the measure is intended to strengthen election security by providing an additional federal safeguard against vulnerabilities in the voting system. The White House argues that the order relies on existing federal authorities, including provisions in Help America Vote Act, or HAVA, and is designed to enhance and enforce of election laws. Trump has advocated for stricter voter identification and citizenship verification requirements, particularly for mail-in voting, ahead of signing the order in March. Again, this will help a lot with elections. I mean, Judge Nichols, the one that made that ruling, he was a Trump appointee. That's why we got to that. Okay, good. All right. NAACP and LULAC, League of Latin American Citizens, they are the ones that filed legal challenges to the ruling. Okay. So that being said, we have to wait for the appeals court, and we got to wait for the Supreme Court before we draw any conclusions. And if they're in California, it takes 10 years for something to get done anyway. 3 days for the counting of votes. I could have put together a 10,000 piece puzzle in 3 days. And I hate putting puzzles together because they're so complicated. All right. I know I'm joking. Puzzles are fun, especially when you're doing them with your wife and kids. All right. 6 Republicans vote against the White House ballroom. We know it failed because it needed 60 votes to make it past filibuster to get inputted into the bill. 6 Republicans joined with Democrats on Thursday to support a measure that would block the construction of the White House ballroom. The measure needed 60 votes to pass. They got 52. Done. But here's a list of the Republicans that were involved in that. That would be Susan Collins. That's the hold your nose, I'm voting for you lady. John Husted. He should pull it out. I don't know why he's voting the way he did. Jerry Moran of Kansas. I do believe he's retiring. Lisa Murkowski. I'm not going to say anything about her. Dan Sullivan. I'm disappointed. Tom Tillis. Can't wait for him to get out in January. They all voted to block the construction. But like I said, they oh man, I lost my thought. Oh yeah, they lost because they couldn't get past cloture. All right, man, I can't believe that. I was looking for that word and then I got lost. Okay, yeah, because you need a 60 vote cloture vote to bypass filibuster to get the measure approved. They only got 42 votes. All right. Let's see. We'll do this one and then we'll do this one. All right. So several months ago in Minneapolis, there was a group of protesters or rioters. They breached through the doors of a church on a Sunday morning and caused a huge disruption. News cameras went in them, and they were broadcasting all over the place and yelling and screaming and cussing in this Baptist church, totally embarrassing everyone and putting them on their heels, right? That's against federal law. That's called the FACES Act, and that goes back to 1991 or 1992, right? That guarantees freedom of access in churches and, unfortunately, abortion clinics, right? This was the church. And yet a group of protesters, that, including Don Lemon, breached through the doors, went inside, cameras ablazing, and they got in the face of a lot of these people going to church there and totally disrupted their lives. Well, go down the road. So several of them were arrested for federal charges, but nobody was able to come up on charges for state charges. And that is because the prosecutor that's involved in the case in Minneapolis evidently doesn't want to prosecute the case because he says there was not enough evidence to proceed with charges. I mean, in the federal grand jury, they had not a problem with it, right? But in the state part, they can't. I mean, it does not make sense. But this is liberal judges, liberal prosecutors getting away with murder, right? Dozens of anti-ICE protesters, including former CNN journalist Don Lemon, and we use the word journalist very loosely with him, will avoid state criminal charges after storming a Minnesota church service in January, a decision church leaders blasted as effectively giving activists a free pass to disrupt religious worship. A St. Paul, Minnesota attorney, Irene Kao, said in a statement Wednesday that her office would not pursue charges, saying available evidence did not support prosecution under Minnesota law. 39 people did get federally charged, but no one on the state level is getting charged. And that would probably be because, and I'll throw a bone, okay, is maybe they don't have that law on the books in Minnesota. They do federally, but they may not have it locally. And that would be, they need to pass a law protecting, they need to do their own FACES Act, okay? They do, all right? And that would be good. But maybe they don't have the standing criteria I mean, they could call criminal trespassing. And I heard that on Fox this morning. Wow. Okay. But they could do trespassing and then give them a criminal trespass warning or fine them, right? $50 each. They get paid to do this stuff, so why not, right? But that's disappointing. Breaking and entering, harassment, trespassing, you know, it's easily said, right? All right. What do we got time on? We got 8:48. I'm doing pretty good here. Which one do I want to do first? Okay, we'll do this one. Senators failed to get ban on anti-weaponization fund into bill that funds ICE and Border Patrol. A Senate vote to include language blocking the Department of Justice's anti-weaponization fund is in a reconciliation bill funding immigration enforcement failed on Thursday despite Republican defections that support it. The $1.776 billion fund, it's not even $2 billion, was part of the settlement to end Trump's lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns by contractor Charles Littlejohn, who pled guilty. It drew bipartisan pushback and faced legal scrutiny, including Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to announce the agency would not move forward with it, but some lawmakers sought to include language codifying that decision in the upcoming bill. Led by leader Chuck Schumer, and a handful of Republicans voted for an amendment to include the language, though it fell 49 to 50. He couldn't even muster a majority of votes. The Hill reported GOP Senator Susan Collins, Dan Sullivan, John Husted joined Democrats in backing the amendment. The fund drew scrutiny toward Trump allies. Some Trump critics within the GOP including Tom Tillis, previously suggested he may not support the final bill if it does not include language banning the fund. Tillis ultimately did not support Schumer's amendment. All right, so they didn't kill the fund totally, right? Next, what are we at? We're at 850. We're doing pretty good here. I still have this huge stack of papers here still. Okay, so which one did I just do? I did the weaponization. I did that one. That one. That one. That one. That. Okay, I'm making progress. And that one. All right. So next, Southern Poverty Law Center. You know, on Tuesday afternoon, it was announced there was a superseding indictment on the SPLC, and they started releasing stuff on this, right? And you know, evidently, it takes time to read some of these opinions and stuff. Well, so SPLC, I've always identified them as a racist organization. And some people say, no, you don't know what you're talking about, James. They're doing civil rights enforcement. They're not. They are just as bad as the KKK, the Po Boys, the Oath Takers, the Aryan Brotherhood, the neo-Nazis, and the SPLC. They are, right? Because they were paying people to post racial posts online on Facebook and ScrewTube and Twitter and stuff like that. They were paying people to make posts to flare up racial hatred in our country. They did that. And people know how addictive like Facebook can be and stuff. And they were purposely stoking the fire on something. Because, you know, sometimes you get on Facebook and you're like, man, just keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. Don't touch it. Just let it go. But they were taking it to the next degree to get people to actually engage, right? And they were being just as racist as the person that was on the receiving end of that post. For years, the SPLC worked to encourage corporations, and at the same time, they brought in hundreds of millions of dollars of donations because they were the good guys, right? And they weren't. For years, the SPLC worked to encourage corporations and big tech to blacklist and isolate conservatives by falsely accusing them of hate and racism. Yet, all the while, the SPLC was allegedly paying a source to make racist online posts under its direction. Oh, that's not good enough. You need to make it a little bit more juicy. That kind of junk. According to a newly unsealed federal indictment, the SPLC was indicted by a felony grand jury last month for wire fraud because the people they were paying undercover and to stay with the organization they were telling them you work for a company called Rare Books and to be tutors, and they never did none of that. They just gave them money, $1,200 a month to purposely stay in a racist organization. Prosecutors allege the SPLC used millions of dollars received through donations to pay a covert network of individuals that were a part of violent extremist groups like the KKK. Now, the newly unsealed indictment reveals the SPLC had a field source who was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia, and attended the event at the direction of the SPLC. That's an employee then, right? And they paid him $270,000 for posts and event attire from 2015 to 2023. The allegations in stark contrast to the role the SPLC has played for years, that is apparently leading to arbiter that constitutes between hate and extremism. The organization repeatedly encouraged corporations and institutions to blacklist and censor Christians and conservative groups over fake allegations that what they were doing, what the SPLC's actually been doing. And and as the Federalist L.A. Purnell wrote in these pages, the smear campaign the SPLC wages against Christian and conservative groups by equating them to actual extremist groups threatens not only their reputations, but the funding projects and even their physical safety. You know, I'll go one step further, okay? They need to be dismantled. Totally. They need to refund the money to all these corporations they fleece and give it back to all these donors, civilian donors and corporate donors. Give all that money back, and then as much money back to the taxpayers as possible. Go back to the Congress, right? It's ridiculous. We'll put it like this before I go to the next one. What time is it? 8:56. Okay, hold on just a second here. Just in case I run out of time. There we go. I'm ready. So with Turning Point USA, another organization targeted by SPLC was Turning Point USA. SPLC writer Rachel Fugari accused Turning Point USA of advancing so-called white Christian supremacy in May 2025. Turning Point USA primary strategy is sowing and exploiting the fear of white Christian supremacy is under attack by nefarious actors, including immigrants, the LGBT community, civil rights activist Fugari wrote, adding Turning Point is trying to sow fear and division to enforce social hierarchies and rooted in supremacism, which he said is emblematic of the far-right, broader approach to destroy our foundational democratic principles and institutions. So, and then the SPLC also designated the ADF as a hate group. And then ADF work includes protecting women's sports and mentally ill, defending the pro-life centers against Democrat warfare. Hold on. Oh, good. They released a poll saying it was on a head-to-head matchup between Susan Collins and Graham Oyster Boy Plattner. They're essentially tied in the race for the U.S. Senate. All right. So SPLC is as wrong can get. All right. We're at 8:58. Okay. Man, I didn't even finish. Okay. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Right. Just want to give you all an update real quick. Next Tuesday, June 9th, we have the Coppers Cove Conservative Club in Coppers Cove. Just check my Facebook. The Coppers Cove Conservative Club, June 9th, 6 p.m., Giovanni's. Be there. All right? And then the following Thursday, on June 18th, Area 254, Pints and Politics. Be there, 6 p.m. All right? Let me go back to where I'm at here. I'm almost out of time. It's 8:59. Thank y'all very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Dan Bongino is coming up. I'm about to do the raid. Have a great weekend. And I appreciate y'all giving me this week. And I will retool a little bit, get refreshed, and make some improvements, side improvements, and go for it. 9 a.m. I will see y'all Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. with JP's morning brief. Okay, let me do the raid. Raid is confirmed. I will see y'all later. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out. 3, 2, 1, mark.